Two Chairs No Waiting, episode number 796, Alcohol and Old Lace. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the folks over at WeaversDepartmentStore.com. Drop by over at Weavers and check out some of the great Mayberry items they have over at Weavers. You might want to check out the Mayberry Choppers t-shirt. They have a t-shirt in black and brown, and they also have the sweatshirt version of that. It's kind of warm for that this time of year, but hey, it will be winter eventually. Check that out, Mayberry Choppers. You can also get you a t-shirt that's a Mayberry splatter t-shirt. Looks like you've been painting. It says Mayberry, established 1960. And they also have a Small Town Girl t-shirt. I guess anybody could wear it, but probably ladies. You might want to check that out. It's a long sleeve shirt. Head over to WeaversDepartmentStore.com and check it out. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners like you. And the executive producer of episode number 796 is all the folks that came to the Mayberry Meet-up, because they took up a collection, and I want to thank them for that. And also the High Sheriff of the Two Chairs No Waiting podcast is Chris Merrill. So thank you, Chris, for your help in keeping this podcast going. Hello, everybody. I'm Alan Houston, the host of Two Chairs No Waiting, and it is always fun to spend time in Mayberry. This past weekend was the 12th annual Mayberry Meet-up in Mount Airy, North Carolina. So I just got back from there. A lot of folks were there. I hadn't counted up the numbers, but there was at least it's probably about 100 people total that came over the weekend, and we had a great time. We'll talk about that in a little while, just a little bit, and maybe I'll do a full report on it in future episode, but we'll talk about it and at least hit some high points. But tonight we're going to be going over alcohol and old lace. We'll talk about that episode of the Andy Griffith Show, and then we'll play a little bit of just fun trivia that you can try and see how you can do. See how you do. So alcohol and old lace is our episode for this week. We've been running through the episodes, trying to, for the last bit here. I've never done that. We're heading into 800 episodes of the podcast, and I've never talked about and kind of gone through the episodes of the Andy Griffith Show. So I thought it would be a good idea to do that. So let's get a little background music from our VW boy friends, just to play in the background as we read this. This is all about the episode Alcohol and Old Lace. And you guys, you definitely remember these, the ladies. Just a short about that is Andy and Barney, they believe that they have wiped out and shut the lid on moonshining in Mayberry. Yeah, that's after making all kinds of arrests from tips from Mayberry citizens, and especially from the Morrison sisters. They've been given all kinds of tips about who might be moonshining, because they do their walks and they go places. An inebriated Otis quickly convinces them otherwise, Andy and Barney it is, as they set out to find and destroy the still that must still be functioning from which Otis is getting his spirits. So Andy and Barney can't figure out where in the world is Otis getting this stuff. We thought we shut this whole thing down. That's what the episode is about. Despite combing the entire county for the still, it's, actually still, it turns out to be Opie who makes the big break in the case. That's right. While gathering some flowers over at the Morrison sisters' garden, they see him over there and say, well, sure, Opie, just don't go into the hot house here. Those are our special flowers. Well, Opie figures he's in enough trouble that at school that he needs those special flowers, that might help. So he sneaks back there. And Opie brings that bouquet of flowers over to the courthouse to show Andy his bouquet. And he's got it in a little jar. And he comes in there to try to find a better vase that doesn't smell funny like this jar. And as he's leaving the courthouse, Opie mentions that there's a so-called flower making machine over there is why they grow such nice flowers. And Andy and Barney are like, whoa. Andy's, what? A flower making machine? What's it look like? And Opie begins to describe the flower making machine. As you You guys might remember. And as he goes through explaining what the flour making machine looks like, he basically they decide that that don't sound like a flour making machine. That sounds like a still. And then they realize that they smell the container that Opie has had his flowers in, and wow, they realize what's going on. Now, of course, Otis overhears that, so he's just dying as he's hearing this story that it may not be a flour making machine. So Andy and Barney make a little trip over to the Morrison sisters, and they claim that they were selling their elixir, is what they were selling. It was just elixir that they were selling, and it was for medicinal purposes. It was for special occasions and celebrations. But it's clear they've been selling it to anybody that was clever enough to come up with some kind of an occasion or special event that would allow them to be able to buy this elixir. And the ladies have been eliminating their competition by turning in all the other moonshiners. So despite their work in lawlessness, Andy basically only has Barney destroy the still. He pow the still so that the Morrison sisters can't make any more of their elixir. And moonshining is now dead in Mayberry, at least for the time being. So that's the plot. That's the plot of the show. That's what pretty much happens. Now, this is where I kind of go into, hopefully, some things you may or may not be aware of. So in this episode, it is the first appearance of Jack Prince. Jack Prince. Now, let me go back on this since we're talking about first appearances. This episode was the 17th episode aired, and it was the 17th episode filmed of the Andy Griffith Show. Its original air date was January the 30th, 1961. It was written by Jack Ellison and Charles Stewart, and the director was Gene Reynolds. So this would be the 17th episode aired. So in the broadcast order, this was the 17th episode. We're kind of going through them in production order, which would be the filmed order. So we're doing them slightly out of order as far as broadcast, but it's the way they're often listed on websites and in books. So you got to pay attention to whether they're doing it by broadcast or aired order, or if they're doing it by original production order. So we're doing, I'm making sure you know both, so you know. As I mentioned, this was the first appearance of Jack Prince, who played the Ben Sewell in this episode. He plays in six episodes of the Andy Griffith Show, but he plays at least 3 different characters during that time, right? So he's Ben Sewell, of course, Rafe Hollister, that we know the most, and he is, he's the character that is shooting at Andy and Barney when Mr. Case, the state inspector, comes to inspect the courthouse and everything. And I'm completely blank, and somebody in my chat room will tell me what his name was. But he plays that character as well. But Rafe Hollister is what I always think of him as rather than Ben Sewell or the other character, Luke Rayner. Thank you very much for South Carolina Cody in the chat room. Luke Rayner, thank you. I knew somebody could throw that in here. Anyway, that was his first appearance. Fancy Gap, which is mentioned on the show, is an actual town in North Carolina that's near Mount Airy, North Carolina, Andy Griffith's hometown. And it's mentioned as a possible location for the still that they're looking for, that Andy and Barney are looking for when they're in the courthouse going through all their records trying to figure out where a still might be. They are talking about Fancy Gap. Now, the real Fancy Gap, if you're interested in this, was the childhood home of longtime Virginia Tech football coach Frank Beamer. He grew up there after his family left his birthplace of Mount Airy, North Carolina. Little, see, odd facts known by a few. That's what I'm telling them. So Gladys, the actress Gladys Hulbert, who played Clarabelle Morrison, was a playwright in the 60s, or in the 30s and the 40s. So in the 60s, she was doing this stuff. But she was a playwright. I did not know that until I started researching. So in this episode, there's a reference to Panama Canal Day. Well, that is a salute to the episode's namesake, the Broadway hit play from 1944 from Frank Capra. It's a Frank Capra film as well, from 1944, Arsenic and Old Lace. Well, that movie starred Cary Grant and Priscilla Lane. John Alexander plays Teddy Brewster in that movie or play. He's a crazed man who thinks he's Theodore Roosevelt and who basically spends the story digging the Panama Canal in his aunt's basement. And in reality, he's actually digging graves for the victims of the two older ladies. So this is where this came from. The Panama Canal Day, he was digging the Panama Canal. It's kind of a tie-in. Alcohol and Old Lace and versus arsenic and Old Lace. So there you go. Little bit of trivia for you. This is the only episode, according to the sources, in which Otis pays both the $2 fine for being drunk and serves his time in jail. So he does both. He pays his fine and serves time. Normally it's $2 or 24 hours in jail. So anyway, just keep that in mind. And this is the first episode where we see Barney as drunk. Now that's at the very end of the episode. Barney is eating the preserves that the Morrison, the reformed Morrison sisters have started making preserves, and Barney's eating the preserves. Well, they've turned hard, evidently. So he's a little wobbly in the background. This is the first episode where I actually see him drunk or tiddly. I don't know what you call him, but he was not of his normal mind. Barney could not hold his alcohol at all. I do not drink myself, but I don't know. I mean, you would think if you look at the episode, unless he had already eaten another jar, he's only eaten, that's a pretty good sized jar, but he's only eaten about a fifth of it, maybe, and he's already gone. So it's either very strong or he just can't handle it at all. Of course, he did get drunk at Jubal Foster's by just drinking the water that it had, it doesn't take a lot for Barney. Anyway, this was the first time we ever see him drunk. Ben Sewell, who we've already mentioned, is a potato farmer and lives in Townsend Flat, about half a mile down Ash Road. Clarabelle described Ben as wearing blue overalls, a brown felt hat, and a red plaid shirt. And if you'll remember, during that, Andy goes, "Oh, wait just a minute. Could you say that again? We saw it. And it goes on to describe him as all that information. And Barney said, "We can't go on flimsy information like that." Oh my gosh. I love this show. They're so funny. Opie's teacher, remember Opie's in trouble. Opie is in trouble at school with his teacher. And Opie's teacher is, in this episode, is named Miss Johnson. Miss Johnson, that's who he got the flowers for from the Morrison sisters. Andy considers deputizing Orville Monroe and Reverend Aiken to help search for the still that they can't seem to find, right? And he's going to do that because they're non-drinkers. So Orville Monroe, he didn't drink, and neither does Reverend Aiken. So there you go. That's why he was going to get them to help try to find the stills. Let's see, Luke. Let's see if I can find. I've got pictures and stuff I'm trying to show as I talk about this stuff for you guys. There's a gentleman that buys his Well, he buys some stuff from the Morrison sisters. I must not have a picture of him, but his name is his name is Lart Hansen. He pretends to be a Muslim and uses the holiday of Muhammad's birthday to get the Morrison sisters to sell him moonshine. Remember that? I thought I had a picture, but I must not. They even go on to comment that they didn't realize there were so many Muslims in Mayberry. They did not know. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Oh yeah, I do have a picture of him. I do have a picture. So if you're watching the video, you'll see a picture of him. He claims he's Muslim, and they didn't realize there were so many Muslims in Mayberry. All right. Lart Hansen is his name. Lart Hansen. This is I already mentioned that. First time we see Barney drunk. I think that's it. That's our notes. We are odd facts, but here's a nice note. Now this is unusual. We don't really usually go into this kind of stuff, but the characters of Clarabelle and Jennifer Morrison bear an uncanny resemblance to Miss Mamie and Emily Baldwin from The Waltons. If you remember that TV series, The Waltons, including their characters' profile backstories, and they sell alcoholic elixir that they refer to as the recipe on The Waltons. Anyway, they are natively harmless, and to be harmless. They believe it to be harmless. This recipe, the recipe. Just so you know, Earl Hammer, who created the Waltons, had worked as a staff writer and production assistant for a variety of CBS productions in the 1960s, including The Twilight Zone. But his involvement, or lack of involvement, with the Andy Griffith Show is still unknown and uncredited. So there's you a little bit of thing to look for to see if there's really a tie. Or is it just a coincidence because their characters, I believe, were based on the not alcohol, but arsenic and old lace characters as well. And since they both had the same source, they may have been very similar. So there you go. Anyway, little bit of trivia there for you. Thought I'd throw that into the mix. Couple of a couple of good quotes to me was when Otis says, they ask him why he was wanting to buy the elixir. He says, "Well, do you know when Sir Walter Riley Day is? Today's the day." Because they didn't. Oh, and of course then there is Andy at the end of the episode. Andy gets sprayed when Barney starts busting up the still, if you'll remember. Andy gets sprayed with the alcohol, and he goes, and it's hitting him in the face and everything, with the Morrison sisters standing beside him. He goes, "Well, I guess it's all right to have a little taste. After all, it is National Still Smashing Day." So there we go. So that is our trivia and quotes and everything else for alcohol and old lace. A little odd facts known by a few, I should have said, not trivia. But I hope you enjoyed that. Just a review, and go back through and maybe make you remember the episode and go back and check it out and watch it and see what you think about it. It's a great episode for us all to enjoy, as is almost every episode. It's really hard to pick out the right episode. So this past weekend, we had the Mayberry Meet-up in Mount Airy, North Carolina. And I set it up. I set up everything on Thursday night, and it wasn't even part of the official event proceedings. And boy, we had a big turnout even that night, just sitting around outside on Thursday night and watching episodes of the Andy Griffith Show together. I'm not sure how many were there. There's probably 20 more people there at the time when we did that. There was a bunch of people inside the gazebo and then sitting outside as well by the time we actually got it dark enough to be able to show the episodes. So we had a really good time, and that was on Thursday night. The event didn't actually even start until Friday. And Friday, we had a good day Friday. The weather was nice, and we were able to do a lot of cool things at the beginning. And I want to thank everybody that was there because they put together, because they knew I had retired from my actual job. And so they put together a not only a cake, and they also gave me a nice picture. And I have it right here in front of me. They gave me this photograph of a spaceship that's the Ares rocket that is currently looking to be taken to the moon. It says, Floyd, you had one job. One job, it says. And if you look at the picture, it says happy retirement, and it's got a start button and it's not plugged in. So it's not. Floyd, you had one job. That's all you had. But we had a good time. I want to thank everybody that presented that and gave that to me. That was very kind of you guys. It was members here that are listening right now that were involved in that, and I can't thank you enough. But we had a great time that Friday evening. It all started off really well. We were having a good time visiting before it got dark. And, wouldn't you know that about, I don't know, 10 minutes or 20, 30 minutes before it was going to get dark, it started raining. But boy, we had a great time from about 6 o'clock till about 7:30 or so, 7:40. And that's when the rain started getting there. And so Friday night, we thought we were going to get kind of rained out, but we actually didn't. A lot of people did leave, but if you did stick it out and stayed through the rain and everything, it did eventually quit raining, and everybody that was there, we were all gathered inside the gazebo there at the Mayberry Motor Inn, and everybody had a great time. We sat in there and watched about 4 episodes of the Andy Griffith Show. There's probably about 20 people, maybe a few more that were still there because it didn't rain anymore the rest of the evening. And luckily, before everybody left, we had already been able to eat everything. Well, mostly everything. So we had a great time just enjoying one another's company and watching episodes of the Andy Griffith Show on Friday night. Well, and as of course, it was 2 Chairs No Waiting is the one that puts this together. And so we were able to move out on Saturday and visit around the town of Mayberry or Mount Airy and go and see the statue. Hopefully everybody got to go and do stuff like that because the rain all went away and it didn't rain anymore it didn't rain anymore after about 12 o'clock. We had a huge group of people that showed up in the Neil Brower lecture. The entire room was actually filled to the point where we didn't have enough seats. It was absolutely full, and it was a great turnout for Neil. And there were folks sitting on the floor, sitting on benches, just wherever we could sit. And wow, what a great time that was on Saturday afternoon. And we all were able to just enjoy that and hear Professor Brower's reports. And not only Neil, but we had our chat room regular, South Carolina Cody. He also did a little bit of a presentation during Neil's event about the recent episode, about the recent travels he went on to California that we heard about here on the podcast. So he was given information about locations of things that were seen in the episode that Neil was talking about. Jan and I headed over to the Dairy Center, and I got me some banana pudding ice cream, and I definitely recommend that. There's a lot of great places to eat in Mount Airy, and I definitely suggest you try to do that. We had a wonderful silent auction and raffle event going on during the meetup that started about 6 o'clock on Saturday night. Guys, there was all kinds of amazing things there that people had donated, anybody that was at the meetup could try to win. You bid a silent auction. It was a silent auction. And then there were other things that were just raffled. But man, they had some really cool stuff, and they raised a lot of money to help here on the podcast. It was $1,300 and something dollars. I can't remember, 63, I believe, that they raised to help keep this podcast on the air. So I want to thank everybody that donated items and everybody that purchased either items or bought a raffle ticket. We gave out, we called all the raffle ticket numbers. We had door prize numbers. The door prizes both Friday and Saturday night were also provided by Weaver's Department Store. We had folks bringing food over. The Mayberry on Main folks brought us watermelon to eat. So Mayberry on Main, thank them. We just had a great weekend, and I want to thank everybody that spent their time. I don't want to start mentioning names because I'll leave somebody out, but everybody that volunteered to help either run the raffle or the silent auction or the amateur tribute artist contest, which was a blast. We had the amateur. It's really a parade, amateur tribute artist parade. We had the Morrison sisters there, by the way. They were there, and they brought Otis with them. And now Otis was controversial because he is actually Norm Schultz, in this case, who is a tribute artist, but not for Otis. So we decided he might be amateur as a Otis tribute artist, but we weren't too sure overall. But we had some great costumes. We had Clarabelle and Jennifer. And there was one in particular that was amazing, I thought. We also had the folks from over at Mayberry on Main. They were there as some of the convicts at large. There you go. There's Esther. Esther and Christy were dressed up as convicts at large. Neither admitted to being Big Maud. They were not Big Maud, so it was Naomi and Sally that were there. But they came dressed up. That was a couple of our other costumes of folks that we had. We had Mrs. McBeevy. Now, Mrs. McBeevy has walked in the Mayberry Days parade over the years, and she has, all kinds of tools that are not the same as Mr. McBeevy's, but she has tools like a spatula, and she had scissors. She had all kinds of stuff with her. But Mrs. McBeevy was in the tribute artist parade. So guys, I recommend if you ever get a chance to come to the meetup, think about you a character, maybe one that nobody sees, or at least not very often. We did have Lydia. Lydia showed up as Mrs. Magruder's cousin. So there she was in Mrs. Magruder's cousin's dress and had been working over at the bank, but came on over after it was over, is what she said. So now, and there was, I don't know if I'm getting to it yet. Oh, we had Aunt B. So from Scottsburg, the lady who does Aunt B for us in Scottsburg was there, and she had Aunt B's bed jacket. She was in Aunt B's bed jacket as part of the parade. I'm not sure. She may not have been qualified either. She may be professional. I'm not sure, but it was really fun. We had a good time with that. Sarah was there as a selfish giraffe. Sarah, Miss Mayberry, in our chat room, was a selfish giraffe walking around with her nose in the air, looking out for number one. She was dressed up as that character for the selfish giraffe, and did a great job and enjoyed herself. And folks were enjoying watching. There was a big crowd of people there. We had a lot of people on Saturday night. And after them, this was the group, and they kind of won the contest. This was the best. Now, if you're watching this, is where you really need to see it. But do you remember the episode when Andy and Aunt B and Opie all went out to California? Well, this was Gavin McLeod, who was the sheriff without a gun. Remember the color episode? And Aunt B. This is Mike McGonigal and his wife Carol were those two characters, and I can't remember what his actual name is on the episode, but he was the sheriff without a gun and Aunt B. And it was absolutely awesome. When I first saw him, it did not take but a second to realize he even had the toupee in his hand. So it was definitely a really great tribute to those characters, and nobody has ever done that before. So hats off, or to pay off to Mike for doing this. Brian Bender, thank you in the chat room. They're telling me the name. Brian Bender was the actor's name that Gavin MacLeod was playing. That was the sheriff without a gun. Absolutely awesome. You guys have got to check out the video version of this podcast or check out the pictures. I posted them over on the Two Chairs No Waiting podcast group, as well as the Mayberry Meet-up group. So you can go and check out all the pictures and see. They even kind of reenacted the scene where Aunt Bee, she's got the rifle. She's got a BB gun, but she's got the rifle, is going to shoot the people. It was awesome. People were laughing. You can see in the background in the picture, I'm laughing. Terry Varvel's laughing. Phil Lee, Neil Coleman, we're all laughing that you can see us. What a great job. Thank you for doing that. That was not all. There were some other tributes. Let's see. I don't want to knock anybody. Everybody did a great job. Maybe they were the last group, but it was an absolutely wonderful. That alone was worth the price of admission, especially since it was free. For all those tributes, people that did the tribute artist stuff, everybody did a great job. I'm clapping for you all. Thank you for showing up there and making us smile. That's what the tribute artists, all of us, do when we dress up as Floyd or Barney or Otis. We're there to make you smile. And I'll tell you, these folks did that for us at the Mayberry Meet-up, and I thank them so much for taking the time to do that. I must have stopped my music. I had music playing. Yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. Had a great time. Let's see. What else happened? There was all kinds of stuff going on that whole weekend, and Saturday turned out to be an absolutely wonderful night. We were able to. I got some other pictures of Mike and them. So as I keep talking, I'm going to show you these. We were able to just visit and have a great time, get all those items that were brought for donations and stuff. Everybody was able to pick up some amazing Mayberry stuff. We had at least 80 people there on Saturday night. I'm not sure how many total, but at least 80. And we all got our picture made. It's not everybody in the picture, because there was some people taking the picture and there was some people just didn't want to go get their picture. But we had a great weekend. Oh, my leg. Hold on. My leg's cramping. So I'm having to stop. Oh, okay. I'm back. All right. But we had a great weekend. Let me get myself out of the way for the video, folks. Of all the people that came out for Mayberry Meet-up 2024, thanks for coming and thanks for being there with us. It was so much fun. I do this stuff. I can't believe it's been 12 years. This is our 12th event, and it's just hard for me to believe that we've pulled this off 12 times. And it was a crowd of people. Everybody got out there and enjoyed themselves, spent time visiting with one another, watched episodes together. And it was absolutely wonderful. There were people sitting all over the place there on the grounds of the Mayberry Motor Inn, and I just can't thank all of you enough for spending time with me and with each other, because that's what it's all about, is that friendship and fellowship that we're able to gather and do. All right. Well, maybe I don't have to do another report on the Mayberry Meet-up. Maybe that was enough. Some of you guys that were there, you guys write us and let us know how you went. And I should mention, we did the Mayberry Bible study on Sunday morning, and we probably had about 20 people. No, there was more than 20, because I printed 20 things and we didn't have enough. So there's probably 30, 35 people there on Sunday morning. And we did about an hour of Mayberry Bible study on the episode, The Jinx. The Jinx is what we did it on. And then everybody headed back home to their places of domicile, whatever it is, and I think everybody had a great time, made it home safely. Thanks. I hope everybody did. All right, that's it. So let's play a little bit of trivia, guys. And if you do have a report, you can call in and let me know. Okay. So let's do some trivia here. Let's go. Trivia time. Pull out your pencils. Here we go, guys. trivia question. Number 1, it's true or false? Goober won a doll at the county fair. True or false? Goober won a doll at the county fair. True or false? The answer, and they're getting it in the chat room, I'm seeing it really quick, is true. True is the answer. All right, question number 2. Who played the organ at church? Who played the organ at church? That's pretty good. That's not too bad. Kentucky Mike says it was a celluloid Cupid doll, by the way, that Goober won. Celluloid Cupid doll. All right, who played the organ at church? The answer? Clara Edwards. Clara Edwards. So I mentioned in the chat room, I keep mentioning it, if you'd like to be a part of the chat room, you can join us on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at live.twochairsnowaiting.com and be a part of the chat room. We have chat rooms there. We also have chat rooms over on YouTube and on Facebook. So the main one, though, is at live.twochairsnowaiting. Come and join us, and you can be a part of the live show. All right, number 3. Question number 3. Why was Barney nicknamed Rifle Fife in high school? Why was Barney nicknamed Rifle Fife in high school? I did not know this one. I did not know that. So let's see. Oh, well, let's see. Why was Barney nicknamed Rifle Fife in high school? The answer, he threw bullet passes. Bullet passes, football passes. Yep, I'll give you that. We got one of our members that has not made it home yet from the Mayberry Meet-up because his son actually had an accident and broke his jaw. Oh, my goodness. Sorry to hear that. We'll be in prayer. Pray for that that'll come out okay. But he's there and having surgery today. But it didn't have anything to do with the meetup. The meetup didn't cause it. But we're sorry to hear that, Richard. We'll be in prayer for your son. All right, question number 4. Question number 4. What did Goober win at the county fair shooting gallery? Come on. It's a multiple choice question. I just gave you the answer earlier, didn't I? What did Goober win at the county fair shooting gallery? I think this is pretty easy. Yep. Just copy and paste the answer from question 1, basically. The answer is a doll. A celluloid Cupid doll, to be a Cupid doll. Okay. All right. That's first 4 questions. Yeah, this keeps giving away the answers, don't they? All right. Question number 5. Again, true or false? Wally liked the comic strip Moon Mullins. True or false? Wally liked the comic strip Moon Mullins. True or false? The answer, because come on, it's either true or false. Come on, guess if you don't know. The answer is true. It is true. You can't guess true and false or false. You got to pick one. but it is true. Wally liked the comic strip Moon Mullins. Question number 6. How many episodes did Gomer and Goober appear in together? How many episodes did Gomer and Goober appear in together? Oh, we're not talking about, it's just the episodes of the Andy Griffith Show. Okay. Don't be throwing in Gomer Pyle and the Return to Mayberry movie. Okay. The answer, they appeared in one episode together. The episode, The Fun Girls. Yeah, Fun Girls episode. All right, number 7. What name did Andy call his prized fishing rod? What name did Andy call his prized fishing rod? Okay. Everybody got a chance to answer that one? Andy's fishing rod that he would never sell for money was called Eagle Eye Annie. Eagle Eye Annie. But he did get that bed jacket that Aunt B had on in the parade. All right, number 8. How much did Gomer's black dress shoes cost? Okay, so I'm going to give you a chance to answer that, but then I'm going to give you the multiple choice, see if that helps you. How much did Gomer's black dress shoes cost that he wore with his yellow porous socks that hopefully weren't too porous? Folks in the chat room are getting it correct. I see it right now. But here's the options you have. Were they $15, $12, $8, or $10? What's the answer? The answer is they were $8. All right, so that's 8 questions. Here's our final. This is kind of a bonus question. Folks at the meetup have already heard this one. True or false? Thelma Lou has a brother. True or false? Thelma Lou has a brother. Folks at the meetup were getting it right anyway, but they obviously have already heard the answer. Man, some of you guys weren't there that are in the chat room, and they're getting it right. All the way down to saying both girls had brothers. Good job. The answer is true. It is true. And we find that out in the episode where Miss Peggy and Andy and Barney and Thelma Lou go down to the duck pond or wherever it is that they were and are going to go wading. And Barney doesn't want to take his shoes off. And Barney said, I don't take my shoes off in front of these girls. He said, Andy says, come on, Barney. Come on, Barney. Both girls have brothers. Or something of that line. So that's where that comes from. So the answer was true. A good job to everybody in our chat room. We had 9 questions. 9 questions. How did you do? How did you do with the questions? Did you get 9? Did you get 8? How did you do? Some folks got 10. No, they got 10 out of the 9 questions. Great job there. A lot of 9 and 9s I'm seeing. Great job in the chat room. Congratulations. Folks, hey, thanks for being here with me. Wow, we've run, it's 40-something minutes into this podcast. Thanks for sticking it out with me and being here with me and just letting me talk about the Andy Griffith Show because that's something I just love. I would love to hear from you and your thoughts about the Andy Griffith Show and things that you like. So I'd love to hear from you. Give me a call at 888-684-8415. You can email me at floyd@imayberry.com or just drop by 2chairsnowaiting.com. All that kind of contact information can be found there. So guys, until next time, thanks for being here with me. It's always fun to be with you. Thanks to everybody that made it up to the Mayberry Meet-up. And sorry for you guys that couldn't come. Hopefully you got to see some of the reports I was doing on Facebook during the weekend, trying to let people know what was going on and the pictures that have been shared. We want to make everybody in the community feel part of it. So thanks to all of you. And we'll see you next time here on 2 Chairs.